Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the DomainCast. I'm here joined today by a game developer. Give it up for Max Oakland here on the DomainCast. Max, what's up, man?
Hi. Hey, how's it going? Happy to be
Um,
here.
yeah, awesome to have you here, man. You're a game dev. One thing I want to get out right now is tell us who you are, what you do, and what you're working on right now, currently in the gaming ecosphere.
Okay, well, my name's Max. I make games and music, so that's what I
Awesome.
do. And right now, the main project that I'm working on is a one-person project called Wink, where I'm doing all the graphics, programming, music, and stuff. And it's about this weird little guy with an eyeball for a head who gets abducted by aliens, and then they
Oh,
give him the power to shoot lasers. And then he lives in this weird little world that's kind of post-apocalyptic, but way in the future of like the collapse of society. So there's a lot of leftovers from our society, garbage and stuff. And there's an oil pollution spill from this factory, and that his goal is to kind of stop that from destroying his little world.
awesome. So, how long have you been working on this game? Is this like a recent venture you've gotten into, or has this been in the making for a couple years now that you've been working on?
Yeah, it's been a couple years. It started out as a totally different game where I was just making like this strange little factory thing, and I was actually doing it with a friend. He was like giving me some ideas, and like I was doing the programming and graphics and stuff, but we put it on hold, and
Uh huh.
I didn't really know what to do with it. It was going to be called the Bird Machine, and would have been really interesting. I had a lot of ideas. But my issue a lot of the time is that if something's an exciting idea, I get way too ambitious, and then it just gets too much. So
Uh huh.
a lot of the time, I have to pull it back, which is kind of what I'm doing with a wink a little bit. But anyway, then after a while of not working on it, not really knowing what to do with it, I realized I really wanted to do something inspired by Super Mario 3. I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to make a game that had an overworld map. And then I was like, that is the perfect thing to do with this because the final level can be a factory, and I could just use those levels that we had designed together.
Now, you brought up an earlier game. I think it was called Bird, right? Something along those lines. What was it again, Max?
The Bird Machine.
Yeah, the Bird Machine. Do you have any plans to revisit the Bird Machine, or maybe reincorporate some of the content from Bird Machine into your new game, maybe as a DLC, maybe, or something along those lines?
Well, I feel like pretty much everything is basically just being reused.
Oh, okay, I
We
see.
didn't really have a whole lot of the content in the computer. A lot of it was like ideas that were written down and stuff, and then there were some levels, some enemies. The only thing that's not in there really is the main character, which was a girl. And I'm thinking I would like to make Wink a two-player game if it's technically feasible, and I think she might be player two. So
Now, with Wink, what would you have to say was one of your most difficult phases of making the game? Was it the programming edge of the department, or was it maybe some outside sources that made it hard to make the game? Or just tell us about it.
okay, well, programming is definitely the hardest part, and I'd say, you know, the collision system. I'm using an engine, so I had to learn a lot about the engine.
I
And
think you
there,
brought it up earlier with me. It was Game Maker, right? That's what's running this game.
yeah, GameMaker is the program I'm using for programming it basically, the IDE, I guess you could call it.
Mm-hmm.
And another really hard part, I guess, the challenge I'm going through now is porting it from a really old version of GameMaker to the current version of GameMaker, GameMaker Studio 2. And so that's possibly one of the most challenging parts because I have to redo a lot of code and get rid of some things that are no longer compatible. But I'm pretty excited about how it's going.
Um, Also, everybody, I do believe there is a demo right now for Max's game. Isn't that right, Max, on your website?
Yeah, there is. There is a demo, and it's the version before. Um, like I haven't released a Game Maker Studio version,
Hmm.
so there are some errors on some versions of Windows. Like you have to like ignore something or allow something, and on the Mac you have to right click it to open it. So if you can brave through those little issues, you could probably have some fun because I've gotten a lot of really good feedback.
Yeah, I was actually playing a little bit of it before we started the podcast. Fellas, it's not that hard to download. In fact, if you need any help, just ask me in the comment section. I got it in a zip file. Keep in mind, though, I am on PC. For Mac users, I don't know how exactly that would work out, but there you go. Go download it. We will have a link in the description, or I'll leave a comment with the link in the description so you guys can get a little taste of Max's game.
Yeah. Um, and it's on itch.io for both systems, so you can just download it on there from the link, and um, it should be pretty easy to download it.
Yeah, I didn't run into many obstacles while trying to download your game. It was just in a zip file, obviously just WinRAR or 7-zip. There's a lot of unzipper files out there that you can use to open the files that you have in the game. But yeah, Max, I know you brought up Mario as one of your inspirations. Were you always a big Mario
Oh yeah.
fan?
Yes. I don't know many people who are more of a Mario fan than me. Mario's like my favorite thing, or one of them at least. Um, and I just never get it. Never gets old. The old Mario games never get old to me.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I remember growing up, I used to have an old Game Boy, a hand me down from
Hmm.
my cousin. I would play the old, like the really old Mario portable games on there. Like the
Yeah.
graphics were pretty ass, but I still had a lot of fun playing them. And I ended up buying a Game Boy Advance SP. I don't know if you guys remember that one. Whoever's watching, shout out to the Game Boy people out there.
Hmm.
And I ended up buying more Mario games on there, and I always really liked Mario. I think it's one of those main games everyone knows. Really, it's one of those things that when you ask someone, "Do you know about video games?" Oh, like Mario. I think
Yeah.
that's a very common answer because it's such a staple of the industry. Mario's been everywhere, and he's definitely broken a lot of sales records.
So true.
I also saw you mention The Legend of Zelda as one of your inspirations. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I love Zelda. My favorite Zelda game is Link's Awakening. My second favorite is A Link to the Past. And I think the main inspiration is in the Link's Awakening. There are a lot of characters. Like there are RPG elements in my game. You get upgrades to your laser power and more health and stuff. And that was definitely inspired by Zelda and other games
Mm-hmm.
that use that mechanic. But then there are also many characters you can talk to, and I really think the dialogue was inspired a lot by Link's Awakening because you interact with a lot of unusual characters, like an old lady who's doing her laundry, a giant cat who a lot of people are afraid of at first, but he's actually your friend, and stuff like that. And there are a lot of ghosts too,
Oh,
because it's they're left over from before the apocalypse, I guess.
yeah. When it comes to weird Zelda characters, did you happen to play Majora's Mask by any chance, Max?
Not really. I know a little bit about it,
Do you know
so tell
about
me.
the toilet that has a random hand sticking out begging for toilet paper?
Oh yeah, that actually is
Yeah,
also in one of the Game Boy Color Zelda games. I
I
think
did
it's
not know that.
um the time one, not Oracle of Ages or something.
Ages? Yeah, yeah. I think
No,
that's
maybe it's Oracle of Seasons. I know it's in one of them though.
it's one of those two. It's one of those two.
Or maybe both.
I think those type of quirky characters always make for a good chuckle for
Yeah, I
when you
like
play
them
those
a lot.
games. Yeah.
That's definitely one of the biggest inspirations for me from Zelda. Just I love the characters.
Have you played any of the newer Zeldas by any chance, like Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild? That one's the newest one, I believe.
No, I wish. I haven't had a modern system for a long time. I've been trying to save my money for other stuff, so I haven't been able to really, buy
Hmm.
those systems. But when I can, I'm really excited to. I have a lot of games on my wish list, like Super Mario Maker, the Zelda one you were talking about.
Hmm.
What is that new one? Breath of the Wild.
Breath of
Yeah,
the
I'm
Wild.
excited about that. And also excited about some of the older ones, like on the last Nintendo system,
Oh, like on the Wii?
the Wii U.
I think on the Wii U, what like when it came to Zelda, the only like new Zelda we technically got was Breath of the Wild, but that got ported over to Switch also. But
Oh, yeah.
there was also what do you call it? Hyrule Warriors. It's kind of like a
Hmm.
like slash 'em type of game. Not your typical Zelda formula. Still though, I enjoyed it. We had Wind Waker HD, the remaster on there.
Yeah, I would love to play that. I've heard great things.
Yeah, I
Oh,
have it. Beautiful
also,
game.
a new Zelda game that came out on the Switch. I can't exactly remember what it's called, but it's like a rhythm-based pixel game, and I've seen the graphics, and it just looks incredible. It was made by like a third-party studio, and they did a great job. But I can't remember what it's called. Maybe somebody can name it in the comments.
If anyone knows what Max is talking about, please tell us in the comments because I don't know at all. But I'm very interested in looking this up and looking at the game because it's the first time I hear about it on this podcast. So if you know what it is, leave it in the comment section down below, please.
So you said you played Wink. Do you have any? Well, like, what was your experience with that?
I played it very, very briefly, like literally
Very brief.
5 minutes before we got
Oh
into
yeah.
the call. So I
Uh
didn't get
huh.
to do a lot of it, but the controls felt solid to me. I like the art style you have going on with the game.
Thanks.
I feel like I feel like some other indie games. Like I don't mean to say this as like a me bad mouthing of the developers or anything like that, but I think a lot of styles kind of look the same after a while. But with Wink, I think it's a very different style, something that really like what's the word? Really popped out to me. It's something that caught my eye. It's like I haven't really seen this type of stuff before when it comes to video games, and the art
Oh,
style I
that's
think it's
cool.
very interesting. Like it's like woo, it's different.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really glad you felt that way because I did all of those drawings myself and definitely, I don't know, appreciate that positive feedback.
So how long did it take you to like draw everything and paint everything? Like a long time, couple months, couple years.
Well, I just kind of work on it like as I need it. Like if I
Hmm.
need an enemy, I'll draw that enemy, do all the little sprites. So pretty much just as long as it's taken me to make the game, which is like a few years. And there's a few more things, but I've decided like you can play up to like the first half of the game, and then the second half of the game, I'm gonna add some new mechanics and stuff, but a lot of it is gonna be combining old mechanics
Hmm.
and then creating more challenging puzzles and experiences with that because I think the first half isn't exactly super challenging. There's I feel like I focused more in the first half on kind of explaining how to do things a little bit and then adding like interesting mechanics. Like in one level and later on you're going to be working with aliens who kind of like try to abduct you, so you kind of get slowly sucked into the air, and then you can use that to like move around and get to different places and stuff.
Now I did run into one little error while playing. This might be something on my end because I didn't let something run on boot up, and it seemed to run fine without it. But I think next time I might let it run in the background. But essentially, the text on screen when I would talk to a character kind of was distorted. I couldn't really make out what they were saying in the
Oh, that's too
text.
bad. Yeah, that's a very weird error, and I'm not sure what caused it. Sometimes on Windows.
Hmm.
But the good news is because I'm upgrading to the new GameMaker Studio, I'm actually like I have to completely change my message system, so
Ah,
that will be fixed in the next version.
yeah, it caught me off guard. I was like, "Whoa, what's going on here? Is this
Yeah,
like some like, yeah?"
it's so weird too because it's completely random. Some people have seen the issue, some haven't. I haven't seen it very often. I saw it one time when I tested it on one computer, but most computers I've tested it on have not seen it, so I didn't even know about it. So yeah, bug testing, that's another real big challenge in making a game because I have no clue why that is happening. Luckily, I don't have to figure it out because that takes forever sometimes.
The many struggles of game development, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, so many struggles, so many little things. It's really interesting thing to do, making games.
Now, what made you choose GameMaker, let's say, against other engines like Unity? I know Unity is one of probably the most popular video game engine for indie developers these days. It seems like
hmm
you can't go into any game store like Steam, the PlayStation Store, Xbox, eShop without seeing a Unity title on the front page. What made you choose this one over Unity or Unreal?
I wouldn't really say I chose it over them. It
Hmm.
was really I started making games when I was in junior high, and I typed in "make games" or something like that
Yeah.
into the web search, and GameMaker came up, and it was beginner friendly, and there were a lot of resources. So I've never done anything else. When I was kind of like early on when I was doing this, I was kind of looking into if I should use something like Unity or Godot or Godot. I don't really know how you pronounce it, or another engine, but GameMaker has gotten so many different capabilities that it really seems like it's gonna be good for the future. Like I can get this game on all the consoles because they have something for all of them, and I'm hoping that that's one of my goals. I'm not gonna say I'm hoping for it. I'm saying I'm working for it. Like with maybe bigger games, because this one is a little bit more of like a demo of what my capabilities are and what my vision is. But I am gonna do as much as I can to get this on as many systems as possible.
I was gonna bring that up earlier. Are you hitting to hit every console out there right now, or what's the situation on that? On where you want to get your game out?
Yeah, that really depends a lot on funding. Like, I'll probably do a Kickstarter
Hmm.
after I'm done with the game to try to get it on consoles, and if people are interested, then that'll happen. If not, I'll work on a new one because, like with the Switch one specifically, I know that you have to pay a pretty large amount of money to even get the chance of putting it on Switch. Nintendo also has to approve it. So,
A
I
difficult
think that
process.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's hard, and I definitely will be working on that. We'll see if it happens with this game, but I don't know if enough people know about me, so it really depends a lot on how I can get it in front of people and if they get excited about it.
I think having it on Switch would be really awesome. I think it would fit.
Would, yeah, I'd
It.
be
Yeah.
really stoked if that happened. And Xbox, I'd be ecstatic, and PlayStation as well. I'm definitely super into Nintendo, but I'm definitely like I wanted on all of them. They're all awesome in their own way.
Now, what about Steam? Is that a possibility by any chance? Having it on
Yeah,
Steam?
it is. It is. It also kind of requires people to be interested because they have that green light process.
Hmm.
So that's definitely something I'm looking into. Like right now, the port to the new version of GameMaker is more of a priority. Once I get that, I think I'll have a lot more flexibility because it'll be a lot more streamlined for newer systems, and then I can do that. But I'm definitely considering and looking into getting it on Steam. I think that would be great.
Going back to me asking you about what made you choose your game engine. I think we talked a little about this in the text messages a little ago about different engines in the industry. Like, if you want to make
hmm
a game, there is a lot of choices, especially in these days. You got like GDevelop 5 that's really made for like 2D games. Game Maker, like Max is using for his game. Obviously, the big player in the room, Unreal Engine, but I think the licensing fee is a little bit too high for the majority of people.
Yeah, the licensing fees can be an issue. And also, I know that I've read when I was doing my research about it that Unreal is a little bit more focused on 3D games. So you can do 2D, but not always as
I've
easily, maybe?
I've always seen Unreal as more like of a FPS type of engine,
hmm
where the majority of the games are either first-person shooters or third-person, action shooters or something along
hmm
those lines. Unity, of course, I think it's very versatile. We've seen tons of different games running on it. The Forest, you can get it on PS4. That's how I finally got it. No, I'm not a big PC gamer. What else runs on Unity? Oh, Escape from Tarkov. I don't know if you heard of that game, Max.
Which one?
Escape from Tarkov.
Oh, no, I haven't.
It's like this. It's like this shooter where it's like kind of survival kind of ish type of battle royale situation where you're like kind of I think it takes place in the Russian countryside or in some like abandoned warehouses. I've only seen a little bit of gameplay of it, but I
Mm.
have seen it streaming on Twitch a little bit and from other YouTubers using it as background gameplay footage. Really decent looking game for Unity. I didn't really think it was made on Unity at first, but really nice graphics for a Unity game. Also, if you want to get into even like game development, I think that's a little bit like less time intensive, I guess you could say. There is another engine out there called Game Guru, which is based on the old FPS Creator engine. If you guys know your engines, FPS Creator is a very, very old engine, kind of a legacy thing that was used to make
Interesting.
first-person shooters back in the day. Very, very simple and basic, drag and drop type of engine. And just go on YouTube right now and type in FPSC video game, and you'll see a bunch of people's projects load up. It's really easy engine to use, and I think they made it open source a
Wow,
couple
that's
months
cool.
ago. Yeah, and they have the people who worked on FPSC on the original creator engine made another one called the Game Guru engine, which is like essentially the FPSC engine but like on steroids. It's essentially it's a lot more better, a lot more versatile, I think. But I still think if you want to get into a big if you have a big vision for a lot of mechanics and gameplay interactions and stuff of that nature, I'd say you'd have to go more with Unity engine or something a lot more bigger than the Game Guru engine. It does have its limitations, guys.
Yeah, I think the Game Maker is pretty good. I can't really compare it to others, but I am always impressed by their additions to it. I think it might have some more errors. Like I get an error when I'm not connected to the internet, but I'm always really pleased with how much I can do. Like way beyond what I want. Though I don't do 3D games yet, although someday I would like to. So I don't really know how their 3D engine works. I know it has one, but I don't know if it's really gonna be good for more intensive 3D games. I don't know if it's really optimized.
Yeah, like that would be my concern too. Like if it's just like a 3D portion tacked onto it, I don't really think it'd run the best. And if you're looking to have like a solid game, maybe switch it to an engine where 3D is more of a focus instead of an afterthought. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I would probably do. I'd test it out in GameMaker first just because
Yeah.
I have a lot of knowledge in it, but if it doesn't work, then I'd probably try Unity.
Now, with Game Maker, what are the licensing fees for that? Like, do you have to pay them a percentage when you release your game on any platform, or how does that work?
No, that's actually a really good part about it. You just buy the license. And I think for some of them, like the console ones, you have to pay for it yearly. I know you have to do that for the Switch. I don't know about the others. But like right now I just bought the basic Mac and PC license and it cost only like $100. You don't have to
Oh
pay for
wow,
any
that's pretty cheap
like
considering all things.
oh yeah, and it's a really good way to get started. You do have to buy licenses for each thing. Like if I want to put it on iOS, I have to buy that license. If you want to do an HTML game, you have to buy that. You can also kind of buy them separately. Some of them, like I think you can buy the HTML5 one by itself. And but yeah, each system basically you have to buy a license for, or you can buy all of them. That's pretty expensive. I can't remember how much though. But I don't think it's expensive comparatively. So that is a good thing about GameMaker.
Now, Max, I know you're making a game, but what we don't know is what hardware are you working with? Like, what type of PC do you got set up for this type of job?
Well, I actually don't have a PC. I have a MacBook, and I do it all on there.
Is it like one of the newer MacBook, the MacBook Pros? I'm not very familiar with Macs. I'm more of a PC guy.
It is the infamous 2016 MacBook Pro that so many people hate. I actually really love it, but it does have some keyboard
Why the
issues.
hate though?
Luckily,
Like, why is it hated so
it was a
much?
weird it was a weird time. There were some hardware issues like the most infamous one is the keyboard. They created a completely new keyboard and the keys get stuck more easily than any other
Oh,
keyboard I've ever used. It's never been a huge issue for me, but some people it has been, and to be frank, it is pretty ridiculous that that happened. And there's also an issue with the cable inside that connects the screen to the like CPU or whatever being too short. I haven't had an issue with it, but some people have, where it can kind of like break or something. I don't really know. I've had it since 2017, I think. Maybe 2000. No, it's been 2016, and I haven't had any real issues with it. So I really love it, and I do a lot of stuff on it. Like I make music on it with Logic and GarageBand, and I also use Final Cut Pro to make music videos and stuff. And uh, I also have been lately. I've been emulating old computer systems like Windows 3.1 and Mac OS 7 and exploring them. So that's been really fun.
For me, I've never really used Mac products. I've always been
I'm
more
a
of a
fan.
I've al- I've always been more of a a PC type of guy with Windows.
Uh huh.
I mean, I've used them at school before. You know, like I think a lot of the schools here in SoCal had a deal with Apple that was kind of a behind the doors deal that really shouldn't have happened, but it did because the
Hmm.
mayor was like friends with someone from Apple or something.
I envy you, to be honest. When was in school,
Bureaucraticness, to say the least.
yeah, when I was in school, we had some really old Mac computers and some newer PCs, and I was actually a PC person at that time, but that's when I started to get into Macs.
Yeah, like back like in elementary school, we had like those iMacs, like the ones that had those like you probably remember the clear plastic ones that were like bluish, greenish.
Yeah, those are
Yeah,
iconic.
I loved using those. Like I'm not a Mac
Yeah,
fanboy, but I gotta admit it was pretty nice using those computers for the time.
yeah, those were pretty revolutionary at that time, but pretty interested in computer technology. So I've been, like I said, emulating older Windows and Mac operating systems and exploring them,
Now, is that just
gathering
like for information purposes, or just like as a hobby, or just curious about OSs and how they work, or what's up behind that?
all of that. It is definitely a hobby for me, and I've never heard it put that way before, but it really makes sense. It is totally a hobby. I just love exploring operating systems, and it is also giving me some inspiration for a game that I am going to be working on. But I don't want to say too much about it
Ooh,
yet.
potential scoop here on the DomainCast, ladies and gentlemen.
It is. You're the first to hear about it in the podcast world, but that won't be for a while because I am focusing on Wink for the most part. Want to get it finished before I do anything else.
Definitely, I think you got to take things one step at a time, not look too much
Yeah,
into the future, just take it a step at a time.
yeah, for sure.
Now, when it comes to, I think you said you make music also, right? If I'm correct.
I do. Yep.
So, how did that come about? Like, do you have a history with music? Like, did you go to school and, like, maybe you were a part of the marching band or something along those lines, concert band? Or was it something you just picked up on the side as a hobby and it eventually grew into something bigger?
Yeah, I feel like I have an interesting story about that. So my family, my mom and dad and relatives were pretty musical, especially on my mom's side. My mom, when I was growing up, was always playing classical music on piano, and I loved that. And my dad played guitar, but he didn't really play it too much. He had a guitar, and to me, it was kind of a mysterious object. And I would play the piano because it was pretty accessible. I didn't take it too seriously. I was in chorus and I was briefly in band, but I didn't like learning to read music. And we also had to take a class one semester to learn to play guitar. So there was definitely music in my life, but it wasn't until high school I decided I wanted to make music for my games because really didn't like having to kind of like it was hard to find music for my games for various reasons. Like just there wasn't that much or it didn't seem to fit. So I just decided to start. I got a computer. That was actually when I got the Mac and it had GarageBand, and then I started doing it for personal reasons, for expressing emotions and just exploring. I really got into production. So I've been doing it ever since.
I have a little history with music. I was part of the band for a couple years. Well, not a couple, several
What'd you
years.
play?
Trumpet was my main instrument, but
That was mine
oh,
when I was
hey,
in band for a
we're
brief period
brothers.
of time. Yeah,
We're brothers. Everybody,
Trumpet Brothers.
Trumpet Brothers is going to be a new podcast here on Game Domain. Going to be hosted by me and Max. Stay tuned
Yeah.
for the next one. No, but actually, I have a mouthpiece right here with me. It's for those of you who know mouthpieces, it's a Bobby Shoe mouthpiece, lead trumpet. He used to play lead back in the day for the jazz band.
Wow. You must have been pretty good.
And I'm gonna have someone call me out right now in the comment section if you know who I am. But yeah, it wasn't for the main jazz band. It was for the secondary jazz band. But
Wow, your school had two?
yeah, we had two.
That's pretty impressive.
So basically, it was like JV squad, essentially what I was a part of, and the varsity squad was like Jazz 1.
Oh, cool.
I started playing in middle school, simply because, well, as a young lad, I watched a lot of Sesame Street, and well, one day I saw them playing instruments and thought to myself, hey, that looks like a hell of a lot of fun. I'll sign up for that.
Sesame Street is always a good inspiration.
It is. It really is. I joined in middle school. First year, I practiced my butt off. We had a really cocky girl. Thought she was the complete shit when it came to playing trumpet, but yeah, she kind of faded it out after the second year. But from there, I think what ended up happening was we had a shortage of players for the middle school jazz band. And me, I really didn't see myself being jazz band material. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you really don't think sometimes you're good enough for the job.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And then I get thrusted into it my second year of middle school, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? This must be a mistake.
That's what happened to me in chorus. Like, I didn't really even want to be in it, but they needed more guys and kept hounding me, and I ended up being pretty good at it.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing that happens in the music biz. Like even at like at the school level, you know, like, hey, we need more players. Why don't you come over here for a quick sec, you know? And you end up joining like 5 different groups, and before you know it, you're everywhere, man. You're everywhere. Now, Max, I know this is primarily a gaming podcast, but what horn did you play on? Do you remember at all what type of horn you had?
I do remember it was a cornet because it was like what we used as beginners because it was like 4th or 3rd or 5th grade or something like that. So it was kind of like a smaller one, I think.
I think we had some cornets too. I think we had them for parades. Back in the high school marching band, we would sometimes bring them out. I liked them better because I think they were lighter. And
that's probably why they had us use them in grade school, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and like honestly, sometimes when you're marching for like, I don't know, a mile, you kind of don't want anything heavy on you. I'm like, in all honesty though, like, hey, I'm a trumpet. It's not the heaviest instrument out there. You could be carrying a tuba.
That's true.
So maybe it's just me complaining a little bit too much, but hey, if you want to feel good about yourself, I mean, hey, like, get the lighter one, you know? It's less of a hassle on you at the end of the day.
Indeed.
Now, Max,
very true.
When it comes to gaming right now, like, do you have any consoles right now, or are you more of a emulation type of guy?
What was that last thing?
Are you more into the realm of like emulating stuff with ROMs, stuff of that nature on your MacBook?
That's pretty much what I've been doing. I would love to get a Switch. I really want to, but I just need to save my money. Right now I'm saving up for mastering. I finished an EP that I recorded with a friend who has a home studio in Montana.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I've sent it to a few super fans and they said they really liked it. So I just have to get mastering, and I'm kind of going all out on the mastering because I think it's going to be worth it. So I'm saving up for that. And yeah, so I can't get a Switch right now, but I really want to. Really want to play Cuphead, really want to play Mario Maker. Those are my big 2 that I'm most excited about, but there's so many good games out nowadays.
I think the the people who made Cuphead, didn't they like draw everything themselves over the span of like 2 years or something along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, I remember Cuphead took a long time, and I remember when it was first kind of being teased, and I was just blown away. And it went through a lot of different stuff. They added some people to the team because it has a crazy amount of animation. Then Microsoft invested in them. Then it was going to be an Xbox exclusive. Then, thank goodness, they were able to put it on other consoles and
Yeah.
stuff. So it was a big like thing. Oh, another game I really want to play, Shovel Knight. I've watched a lot of playthroughs of it, and just it looks like such a good game, and they're even coming out with a sequel now, so I can't wait.
I haven't really played Shovel Knight at all before, but definitely I keep hearing about it within, the gaming ecosphere. And I think it's just one of those indie games that like really pop out to you as one of the bigger successes when it comes to an
It
independent
it
studio.
really was, and I feel like they deserve it because they've been continuing to support it, just like their Kickstarter. They said like they've done such a good job with that. I think that's something to aspire to.
Now, when it comes to indie developers, like I think one of the worst games I ever played was on PS4 from a little unknown dev. I forgot the name, but for good
Maybe that's
reason.
good. So
Uh,
they don't get too mad.
yeah, so they don't get too mad. I'll probably make a video about this on my own channel, but I think it's called City Undead Unknown, the Unknown City Escape, or something along those lines. Some dumb name. It's like a zombie horror survival shooter, but like done on a really, really bad budget. It's made on Unity Engine. It's using a bunch of reused assets. It's essentially an asset flip, right? And literally, I got nauseated playing the game. That's how
Oh,
bad the damn controls are. I literally, a terrible time.
that's not good. Hopefully, people don't get nauseated playing my game, um, because that would probably be bad. If you do, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to fix it. But one thing I am excited about is there are going to be like some accessibility features, like a mode if people have epilepsy to reduce flashing and stuff
Oh,
like that.
nice.
So yeah, I think that'll be really good. I read an article a few years ago by somebody with epilepsy about how some games are really triggering for epilepsy, and yeah, like I don't want that to happen. There are a lot of very different triggers for epilepsy. Like even certain patterns that aren't flashing can cause it. So
I did not
that's
know that.
pretty, yeah, I know. There's a lot there. And I'm also gonna do a mode for color blindness to prevent like um sometimes if people have red green color blindness, it can be confusing if you use color
Yeah,
to indicate stuff. So I'm gonna try to do something with that too.
I think it's great that you're adding those features into your game. I think a lot of bigger devs, could learn from what you're doing for their games. I think one game that comes to mind, definitely, because I played the crap out of it over the years, was Call of Duty. I think they had a colorblind mode for
Oh,
all their
that's cool.
games. So if you're
Great.
colorblind, Call of Duty's got your back.
Yeah. What really made me think about that is that I worked with a guy who was colorblind. We did web design together, and I was designing this web page, and he was like, "I don't know if this is important, but I can't really see because there was this red thing on this green thing."
Uh huh.
And I was like, "Yeah, I'm really glad you said that." And ever since then, I've that when I'm doing something.
I've never met anyone who had any type of colorblind affliction before, but I mean, definitely it must have its challenges, doing day to day stuff.
I imagine so. Have you ever seen those videos of people who get these magical glasses that help them see colors that they've never seen before?
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen those on YouTube.
I thought that was so cool when I heard about that.
I think there was some controversy behind one of them, though. I think it was Logan Paul who did a video of that sort, but a lot of people were calling it out as fake or something along those lines,
Hmm.
which wouldn't surprise me considering what the Paul brothers do on a daily basis when it comes to quote unquote content. But
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy about them all the time.
yeah, like I think one of the most famous cases was the Suicide Forest video that Logan Paul uploaded onto YouTube.
Yeah, that was really messed up.
I remember when that thing landed. I actually saw the video when it uploaded because it was on trending #1.
Mm.
And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, you're not serious, are you? And,
Yeah, sometimes they
yeah.
get you when they do stuff that are so shocking you can't believe
I
it's
thought it was clickbait,
really real.
Like, that's usually
Yeah.
what it is on YouTube. But I click on it and I'm like, oh my God, this is the real deal. This is going to get so much backlash within the hour. And it
Well, you
did.
were right. It
It
did.
it went viral for all the wrong reasons. Like I'm sure you heard about it.
I did, yeah. I mean, I was backlashing against it because I thought that was pretty bad. It really disturbed me.
It was very very terrible. I saw the video. Not a good video at all from Logan Paul, and I think the Japanese don't want him back anytime soon for, well, obvious reasons.
Oh, yeah, there was more to it too.
I think he was like being really disrespectful to in public places, I believe, in his videos when he was vlogging over in Japan, and just
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff with that. That was
yeah,
a year of controversy.
he was just doing
That
stupid stuff essentially.
Yes, YouTube personalities. That's an interesting thing we have nowadays.
Tell me about it, man. They're everywhere. And like the thing is
Like,
too is if they screw up in any form, like PewDiePie, like he's had his controversies too, all of a sudden the entire platform gets targeted by outlets and media outlets looking to get
yeah,
clicks.
that's really true. Also, as an aside, I didn't know how to pronounce PewDiePie. I thought it was PewDiePie for a long time, but I knew it wasn't right. And I kept going through different possible,
Outcomes
like,
for the name.
yeah, but it
Yeah.
was never PewDiePie. I never expected that to be the way you pronounced it.
Yep,
I
that's
wonder
the
how he
way.
came up with that. Does anybody know how he came up with that? Because it's not a name that I would ever pick
I
for anything.
really don't know.
I wonder what it means.
Me too. Like it's just one of those things where it's been a thing for such a long time we really don't question how he got the name PewDiePie. Um like I know his real name is Felix like Klitsch Klinenberg, something along those lines. But one of my earliest memories of watching PewDiePie was when he was doing those screaming react videos back in the day, like in 2012, 2011, for a Unity game. Shout out to the Unity engine once again. The Forest. I don't know if you heard about that game before.
No, I like the name though.
Wait a minute. It might not be The Forest. No. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I mean Slenderman.
What? That's so different.
I mean, you're kind of walking in a forest in both of them. So I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry. I get my stuff confused once in a while.
It's okay.
Did you ever play the Slenderman game by any chance, Max?
No, I didn't. I never actually even heard about it. But I I've heard of Slender Man
Uh huh.
for sure.
I think.
That was
Oh, go ahead.
I think the Slender Man thing was really cool because I remember like it originated in the Something Awful forums and like this thread where people were just posting things, and it took on a life of its own, and then even became like huge movies. And it's really interesting, like the copyright, like rights of that. I think the
Yeah,
guy who created it gave them up, which most people wouldn't do. Like think about how much IP,
you can
I
get a
guess is the
lot.
word. I mean, like Disney, they would never let anybody do that. So I think it's really cool when people do stuff like that and open source software. That's
Is
so
is
cool.
like Do you know if Slenderman is like open domain at all? Like, can anyone make a Slenderman movie?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the person who created it said anybody can use it. So I thought that was really cool.
Yes, open domain. Thank you in the chat. Um, I think Slenderman, the original one.
Oh, you mean public domain?
Yeah, public domain. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Um, the original Slenderman, the video game made on Unity engine. I remember playing it after band practice with my friends. We would go to one of my friends' house. Kind of, we all, well, some of us like to joke he lived in a castle because that's
Oh,
kind of how
really?
the second story of his house looked. But we would play it on his PC. Granted, it was a very crappy PC by yesterday's standards, yeah, by yesterday's standards, not by today's standards. So
By today's standards, it would be really good.
no, by today's standards, it'd be just
Just
terrible, just ass. We'd play on that like at a frame rate of like 8 FPS.
wow. You
So
guys must have been patient.
yeah, very patient to play the big sleeper hit of the summer. And
So that must have been a really good game if you were that patient for
dude,
it.
it was everywhere. Everyone wanted to play it because I think also PewDiePie made it really popular with those reaction videos. He was just screaming every time he'd get scared, and like, like after a while, I started to really hate the guy because I'm like, all this dude does is post reaction videos and just screams like a little girl like every 10 seconds. Like, what's the point of this guy's content? But
There is a lot of questionable content on YouTube that's just about like the YouTube face that they make in like all of their um little images, whatever they're
yeah,
called.
for their thumbnails,
Yeah, thumbnails. That's the word.
it's like
It's
yeah,
it's that face. It's funny how things like that happen.
it's like there could be a whole podcast dedicated to like the behind the scenes of making a thumbnail. It's so diverse, so many trends people like to hop on when it comes to thumbnails, like outlining the person in white, red,
Mm-hmm.
using red circles, like circling
Pointing
something.
an arrow at something really
Yeah,
freakish that's not even in the video.
it's like that's not even in the video, or like adjusting the contrast or adding like insane amounts of like embossing or engraving the image. It's like, I can't believe she did this, and it's a guy with like
Yeah.
his mouth wide open with his hands in the
And then
air.
there's an arrow pointing at like a blue strawberry.
Yeah, it's like what's going on YouTube these days? Like, this is not the YouTube I remember growing up with. I remember rate my video 5 stars. If you disagree with my video, leave me a video response down below, and I'll look at it.
Mm.
Whatever happened to that YouTube? Come on.
I think it still exists, but it's probably just not getting as much attention because clickbait runs the roost right now.
Yeah, I think there's still certain parts of YouTube that have that old charm to it where people just do it for the hell of it. I think a
I
lot of it got
I do think
corrupted.
that was really cool. Well, I love it when people do things just for the hell of it. That's always really inspiring and interesting, I think.
Yeah, like I think one of the bigger gaming channels, if you're like a retro fan out there of video games, was the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
Like he's still around and kicking today on his channel, but when he first started out, very humble beginnings, I believe. Not really didn't really have much, but he built himself a career out of the YouTube channel. Really interesting to see it go from like the really really beginning to like where he is now.
Yes, very much. And he has a great collection of old video games that I deeply am jealous of, and I hope someday I can have something.
He has
so many,
an absurd collection of video games.
and they're so cool. I just love the way old video games look. I love the art. It's so cool.
Yeah, the artwork is really really awesome in some of the older titles. I think today's artwork is kind of meh, kind of bleh.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really like the same because they just show a screenshot of the game for the most part, but not all the time. But like back then, they had to do art. It was
Yeah.
totally different. Also, as a Mario fan, I know this, and this might be an interesting tidbit for you, but Shigeru Miyamoto actually did a lot of the art for early Mario games. So, and Donkey Kong, and like the arcades, and then the first Mario game, the Japan release. So I thought that was really cool, and I like his drawing style a lot.
I did not know that. I'm barely hearing
Yeah,
about
I
that
didn't
right
know
now.
it until recently. I've seen the art before, and I was like, that's cool. I like that. And then recently I found out that he did it, and I was like, wow, that's really awesome.
I did not know that till right now. Very interesting tidbit of information, folks.
Yeah, I think he stopped after the first Mario game. Like the first Mario game, the Japan version has art that he drew, and it's really quirky. I really like his style because it's very quirky.
when it comes to having like a retro collection, I think part of me says I'm all for it. Like I'd like to have like a whole wall of like retro video games. I mean, who wouldn't, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, I'm thinking, am I really gonna play them at all? Am I really gonna go through all those games? Like, it seems like a waste of
Probably not.
space, at some point. And it's kind of a balancing act. It's like, should I invest in it? Should I not? I mean, emulation is a key to solving
Yes,
this mystery.
emulation for sure. I think maybe Marie Kondo could help you.
Maybe she could. Maybe we
You
can
know,
start a
like
new game domain series.
only have 20 video games, no more. And
Jesus, that would be one hell of a series. Marie Kondo coming in, it's like, this is not happiness, and she throws away like Fallout 76 or whatever.
yep. But you have to thank it first.
Thank it for what? For ruining my life?
For I don't know. That's just her philosophy.
I'm a thank it for making me realize how much better any other game is.
You could thank it for leaving. That's something.
That's true. I can do that also.
Thank you for not being a part of my life anymore.
Max, question: do you keep up with the retro community at all here on YouTube by any chance, or is that not something you're into right now?
A little bit. I watch a lot of playthroughs. That's probably the most I do on YouTube. I do really like the 8-bit guy. I watch his because a lot of with hardware, which I'm always intrigued by. And
I think I've seen a couple of his videos actually.
yeah, I like his videos. But I'm not really super aware of the retro community on YouTube. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, we have people like Metal Jesus Rocks on YouTube. I watched a lot of his content before. I used his video title. I think it's something along the lines of how to play your PS2 on an HD TV because, well, I have a PS2 and I was having trouble with that, deciding to go with what.
Oh, that's very useful. So that reminds me, there is one that I can't remember who it is, but he's made a really good series explaining different aspects of how the Super Nintendo hardware. And I had always had some questions about it, so that was really cool. Some videos about how certain NES hardware worked too. I was always pretty interested in that. Sometimes I just get kind of questions like, I know a little bit, so I have a question about how a different thing happens. So I do watch a little bit. What other things are there in the retro community?
You have people like well, I was on Metal Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of retro stuff. He goes over a lot of retro games. He also goes over different like solutions if you want to hook it up to an HDTV. Like, should you buy an upscaler, component cables, like which types you should buy. Definitely
That's
has
helpful.
a lot of good content. I think one of the biggest channels back in like early 2013, 2014, around there was CGR, Classic Game Room, with
I have watched some of theirs. Yep.
with Mark something. I don't know his last name, but definitely the first name was Mark. I remember watching his quirky reviews. Really loved his style. Unfortunately, today he's not really posting any more video game reviews anymore. The secondary channel, CGR Undertow, got canceled also for reasons I do not know. Honestly, it was a very great secondary series. I like the people on there. Don't know why he canceled it. But I think right now what he's focusing on is artwork and reviewing pencils and erasers, which that's not really me.
Artist.
Not really me, but hey, more power to him. He's doing what he wants to do, and well, so be it.
Yeah.
What else? Let's see. We have I think these guys were very, very popular during I want to say 2015, 2016 era. The Game Chasers. Have you heard about them before, Max?
I don't think so.
They were a group of people that would go to, like, let's say swap meets, flea markets, stuff of that nature, and they'd film themselves, going out and searching for these classic retro video games that are, on the more expensive side, or just looking for good deals.
Very
and stuff.
cool.
Yeah, they have a whole show here on YouTube. There's like 5, 6, 7 seasons around there. I don't remember how many. I lose track, but definitely, if you're interested, you should really check them out after the podcast is over. They have a lot of funny content on there. Also, it's not all serious. They are a bunch of goofballs.
That's always fun.
They actually just finished wrapping up. They just finished their movie. They actually made a movie, and I don't know when that's coming out though. Maybe this year, probably, since they finished filming last year, 2019. So, yeah, definitely a good channel to check out. And what else is in the retro scene? You have Pat the NES Punk. That's another guy. 8-Bit Eric. There's another dude right there. You have Alpha Omega Sin. And there might be other people I'm missing too, but Larry Bundy Jr. also puts out some really interesting videos too. I like watching that guy's content also. Max, is there anyone you recommend? Any YouTuber you like watching in particular? It doesn't have to be retro. It can be anything.
Oh yeah. So first of all, I want to say I watch a lot of Mario Maker playthroughs. That's probably one of the things I watch the most on YouTube, actually. Another one that I think is really cool and kind of adjacent to retro gaming is Look Mom No Computer. This is a guy who is really, really cool. He's a musician, and the first video I saw of him was he made an organ from Furbies and played a song on it. He does all this like electronic hacking and weird hardware and stuff. So if you're interested in experimental music or retro sound, that would be a really good one to check out. Look Mom No Computer.
Definitely want to check out the Furby stuff out. That seems really, really cool.
Yeah, that was really interesting and really cool. Like, he's really good with hacking that stuff, which is super.
Now, I'm looking at the 8-Bit Guy right now, and I did see some of his previous videos. I think he was reviewing like an old school computer, like Commodore 64, I believe. Is the name of that one.
He does that kind of stuff, which I think is really interesting.
I'm not that knowledgeable about the older computer systems and stuff like that, but definitely interesting to see them, in a video.
Yeah, and he tells you a little bit about the hardware, what you could do with it, what the peripherals were. I think he shows you it in action a little bit. His videos are good.
If you guys are interested, go check out the 8-Bit Guy. I think Max approves of him. I approve of him. And there's some really interesting content on there for you guys to check out.
As heard on podcast.
There you go. A podcast recommendation from the DomainCast. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time again where we will leave you. We are going to end the DomainCast. I want to give a special thanks to today's co-host and guest, Max Oakland. Max, thank you for joining us today on the show.
Thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Max, where can people find you on your social media so they can stay up to date with your game development and any other, stuff you're going to be releasing?
Oh, yeah. I have my itch.io is maxoakland.itch.io. My Twitter is twitter.com/_maxvalley_. My SoundCloud is soundcloud.com/maxoakland. That was the one that I got. And Instagram.com/max___Oakland.
Wow.
And I have a website, maxoakland.com, but it's under development, so there's not much there.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. He's got all those social medias. Go follow him or like him or whatever the social media is these days, right?
Smash that subscribe button.
Smash it. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been your host, supermechguy. You know where to find me at supermechguy here on YouTube, at mechguy1 at Twitter. Once again, thank you to Max for joining us today, and thank you all for watching the DomainCast. And as always, we'll catch you guys later. Until next time, everybody, peace.